What's going on YouTube? Bancroft here for another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today we're going over what I call the Trio of Saiyans, which I don't know if it was ever given a proper name, but that's what I've always called it. So hope you enjoyed today's video and hit those buttons down below and comment what you think about this leader / deck as well. Now for this breakdown, I plan on going over the archetype of the deck and then going over 2 cards that can be added and what rounds I ended up taking for this list. And like always in the description below, you'll find a link for my final build. So yeah, let's kind of get into it. Son Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks. That's a handful already when it comes to names for leaders, but this leader draws 1 card when it attacks, and it can awaken if you have 2 or more energy and a Son Goku, Vegeta, or Trunks future all red with an EX evolve in play, or if your life's 4 or less. So in order to get this awaken off, you need to play a 1-drop and then play one of the evolve cards on top of it. And once you've awakened, now on your attacks, you discard 1 red Saiyan from your hand to draw 2 cards, which is nice, but you need to play a lot of Saiyans, which really isn't hard for red. That seems to be one of red's favorite, things, it's Saiyans. Now this card has been awakened, you have an activate main that you can use. Unless you awaken on turn 2, then you can't use it. Because in order to use this activate main, you need to have 3 energy, which is slightly annoying. But if you have 3 or more mono red energy, you can play up to 1 Son Goku, Vegeta, or Trunks future red with energy cost of 1 from your drop, with its skills negated for the turn in rest mode. But at the end of the turn, you place that card in the drop. So you kind of want to use this ability to play the 1-drops from the drop, and then immediately evolve on top of them, or use other cards to kind of use them to play other cards. That's the correct word. Because there's a couple of other cards that we will go over in this breakdown as well that I think is pretty unique and fun. And in this deck, it's a lot easier to pull off. So this deck has 3 main 1-drop battle cards that you're trying to play, which is the Son Goku, the Vegeta, and the Trunks. And all these cards can be played for free from your hand, but if you don't do anything with them, they'll also disappear, much like the leader's activate main ability. So in order to do this, you need to have one of the other 2 cards with an EX evolve in play. For example, if you want to play the 1-drop Son Goku, you need either a Vegeta or Trunks future card with EX evolve skill in play. Now these 3 cards have their own ways of playing. These 3 cards have their own autos when they're played as well, which is kind of nice. So the Goku, the top 5 searcher, Trunks will draw you a card, and Vegeta is the recovery play. On play, you have to 1 Son Goku, Vegeta, or Trunks future that is red, has an energy cost of 3, and has the EX evolve skill from your drop to your hand. And as a quick reminder, if you play Vegeta with the leader ability, you won't get that effect because its skills are negated for the turn. So Vegeta is kind of like the one you want to play at the end. Once you start playing the Gokus, you play the Trunks, you play Vegeta towards the end of the game. From your hand, using this ability for free to kind of just pull those 3 drops back to your hand, or if you happen to discard one of the 3-drop EX evolve cards, you use Vegeta to kind of recover those back to your hand afterwards, and then you just evolve afterwards. Yeah, that's it. Moving to the 3-drop EX evolve cards, these cards have 2 ways of being played, both with a cost of 1. The first one is with the EX evolve skill itself, which will draw you a card when you play it this way. Also, the cards being played this way will switch to active mode. So when you're playing a 1-drop with the leader skill, it's still good. The other way is similar to the 1-drops, where you need to have 2 of the other cards with the EX evolve skill in play. And then the Son Goku, when this card attacks, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, it gets minus 15,000 power for the turn. Trunks has blockers, so at the end of the turn, it will then just restand, which is kind of nice. And then, like I mentioned earlier, the Vegeta is also a recovery play, much like the 1-drop. So when this card attacks, you place it in the owner's drop at the end of your turn. When this card is placed in the drop by a skill, add up to 1 Son Goku Trunks future card, both red with an energy cost of 3, and EX evolve from your drop to your hand. So I tend not to focus too much on the Vegetas, and I try to get more of the Gokus and the Trunkses out as much as possible, and just save Vegetas when I need them. Next, we'll go into the 4-drops, which originally only had 1 of these cards, but because of the premium kits, we now have 2, but are both good in their own ways. So the first one is triple combination. For 1 energy, you choose 1 red Saiyan in the battle area, and then you play this card and place the chosen card underneath it. Now, when this card attacks, you place up to 1 card from under this card to the other's drop. Then you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 30,000 power for the turn, which is really great. You free play a 1-drop, and if you don't have an evolved target, you could then just turn around, pay 1 to play this guy instead. and then you just send the 1-drop back to the drop, neg out a card for 30k. It's pretty fun. It's pretty nice. The second one is United, which is played the same way as Triple Combination, but your leader has to be a red Son Goku, and the card you're choosing just has to be a Saiyan. So when this card attacks and you have 3 or more energy, you could combo with a mono red card with 5k power from underneath this card with its skills negated. Then, and if that card is one of the Trio of Saiyans, then you can switch this card to active mode, pop one of your opponent's battle cards with 25,000 power or less. This auto is a once per turn auto, so just keep that in mind as well. And I think it's interesting the way this card's worded to be exact. Let me actually pull up the card in front of me. If your leader's red Son Goku card, and you choose one of your Saiyan battle cards, and then the auto was when this card attacks you to one of your mono red cards. I mean, you still have to be a red card you put underneath it, but you could play this card in other multicolored decks. You won't get the auto most likely, but hey, I mean, it's a 15k for 1 energy swing. In some situations, that's not a bad play. Sometimes you just rather play the other 4-drop because it's a 20k. And lastly, we have the boss monster of the deck, which is SS Son Goku Spirit Bomb Absorb. It's a 30k, it's triple strike, and it has barrier. You play for 3 energy if your leader is a Saiyan, and you choose 5 Son Gohan youths, Vegeta, Trunks youth, Piccolo, and or Krillin cards, all red in your drop. And you play this card from your hand, place the cards chosen underneath it. And then this card does have an activate battle where you place 5 cards underneath this card in the owner's drop. This card gets plus 10,000 power for the turn. Choose all of your opponent's battle cards, and they get minus 20,000 power for the turn. And at the end of the turn, you place this card in the owner's drop, and you play up to 1 red Son Gohan with energy cost of 1 from your drop. Then you get the search because it's not negating its skills, and the 1-drop Son Goku that's for the archetype itself is when this card's just played, doesn't specify from where. Hey, you know. But that is 3 energy for a 30k triple strike, and if it gets negated, it sucks to suck almost. Just kind of putting it out there. It's one of those things, if you're going for this game, make sure your opponent can't negate, pretty much. So pretty much that is the archetype of the deck. We do have a Krillin and a Piccolo you can play. The Krillin helps you search if your opponent plays a battle card with 15,000 power or more by looking up the top 5 cards of your deck, and add it to 1 red Saiyan card. 1 red Saiyan card with energy cost 5 or less among them to your hand. Then you shuffle your deck afterwards. And then we have the Piccolo, which is kind of like a recovery play. It has blocker. It's a permanent where this card gains negative 10,000 power during your turn and gains barrier during your opponent's turn. And what makes this so good is that it's auto. It's limit 1 for 1 red energy. If your leader is a red Son Goku, Vegeta, Trunks future card, and your opponent has 2 more energy, when you place a red Saiyan card with energy cost of 3 and EX Evolve from your battle area into your drop, you play this card from your hand. So one of the go-tos here is that if you play the Trunks chain, then you got a blocker Trunks. Your opponent attacks, you block with Trunks. If they combo out to kill it, boom, it goes here. You pay 1 energy, play the Piccolo. It comes in play with barrier, which is kind of nice. Innately, this card is a 5 energy. So like it gets past some of the counterplays are out there. And then once it hits the board, it's kind of staying on the board. And then it has blocker, so you kind of protect yourself on a fight there, which is great. But then this card has an auto, which kind of makes you decide, maybe I don't want to play this card. Auto with return when this card activates blocker. Switches to active mode, and at the end of the turn, you place this card in the owner's drop. So it is a 20k blocker. If your opponent wants to attack in, you block with the Piccolo, and they don't combo out. Cool, you got another card to block with, and then it just poofs away. So initially, you're using 1 energy to stop 2 attacks, hopefully. But using that Piccolo strategy, you're pretty much stopping 3 attacks if you use Trunks as a blocker as well. So it's just one of those things trying to fit where you can if you want to go that route. From here on out, we're going to kind of go over cards that could be added to this deck to help utilize the capabilities of this deck. And we're going to start with Unisons and then going to extra cards and then additional battle cards afterwards. So for Unisons, we do have SS4 Gogeta Power Connection. It's a card that will allow you to play 1-drop red battle cards. So another way of just playing cards for free. When this card is played for 2 red energy, you look up top 3 cards of your deck, add it to 1 red card, bottom to your hand. The deck is pretty much a red deck, so every card you get to look at, you get to add one of those to your hand. So it comes in value there. It gains +2 markers, so it's a constant 15k beater that either your opponent's going to waste all their attacks getting rid of, or in certain matchups, like you size this card out if you're playing it in certain colors, obviously. But the fact that it just ramps markers so much and your opponent wants to fixate on it, cool, let them. Don't waste your negates on these ones. Just let them get rid of their attacks. And if it doesn't die, you next turn you do +2 to play one of the red drops from your hand. You get the on-play effect then, and then immediately AX evolve them on top of that. I did end up adding this to my deck. I think I ended up doing a 2 or 3 of. It was a 2 of. So, like I said, the list is down below if you want to check that out as well. It wasn't something I wanted to truly rely on. It was just like an option like, hey, this could be a really good play if I wanted to include it into the deck. Moving over to extra cards now. There was one more card that kind of came out when this set came out, and it's one that I'm always iffy on playing, but when I do play the Trio of Saiyans, I always play as a 1-of because it can catch your opponents off guard. The only problem is that once it catches them off guard, they'll just negate your attack. So for 2 energy, activate main limit 1. If a Red Sun Goku Vegeta Trunks future leader is under your Z leader, choose one of your Red Sun Goku Z leaders, and it gets plus 30,000 power and crit for the turn. There's no way to restand that leader, so once it attacks, it's attacked. This is activate main for 2 red energy. This is very risky to do because to Z Awaken already takes 1 red energy. Then turning around and paying 2 more for this just so your opponent to negate the attack sucks. Now, the Z leader, which we'll go over later on the road, just kind of hinting at it now, does have double strike and can get pretty, its power can scale pretty big. So this right here isn't a bad idea. Like I said, the only problem is that once you do something like this, your opponent goes, I'm going to negate the attack then. I always play as a 1-of, like I said. It's something that I think is that if you can pull it off, it works great, especially if your opponent's at, say, 3 life, and they tapped out to do like a floodgate negate, and then, you know, they're low on whatever. If it's blue, I wouldn't worry about it. But like other colors, sure. But sometimes this gets side out very quickly in my matchups. But I was trying to stick to more or less the theme, the archetype of these builds when I do these, but try to make them as up to date as possible. So it's one of the ones that typically gets pulled out as fast as possible. Good, a better red X card, Explosive Dance. I'm sure we all know what it does. There are options of playing testing oppositions, like I mentioned earlier, either for 2 energy or even just going down your life from a 5 to a 4. So that way you can use super combos is pretty nice. And then it stops another attack with its blocker token it plays. Because you're playing a red Saiyan, you can always go to King Vegeta's Imposing Presence, especially when in a deck that if you wanted to go the aggro route, you have to spend your energy. There's no way of like playing a card that will play 2 other cards or playing a card that will have all these attacks. Most of the cards that get played in this deck are a single strike. They are 19k, and if you don't have any of them in your drop, you're spending at least 2 energy to get the chain going already. So having Imposing Presence, if you want to go more aggro route for a turn, is great as kind of a something to fall back onto. And if your life is 3 or less, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand without paying its energy cost by choosing 1 card in your hand, discard it. So that's why like it's something you can hold off onto as long as possible. And it's just a great resource to have occasionally. And then if you happen to want to play the unison route, we do have the Wolfang Fist. It's good. You can play Wolfang Fist by yourself, like without it, if you wanted to play kind of like a mid-range deck and just kind of poke your opponent and then play super defensively afterwards. But without the unison, it costs 1 energy. Kind of gets rough. Moving over to just in general additional cards. Now, granted, this entire list from here on out, and some of the cards I've already gone over aren't in my final list. I'm really just kind of going over cards that could be added to this deck and what benefits you could gain from adding them to this deck. For additional support when it comes to searching out stuff, set 23 got a Son Goku Tough Battle, which for 1 energy, when this card's played, look up top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 1 Saiyan or Earthling card, both red with energy cost of 4 or less, add to your hand. This is red, pretty much just like Son Goku at the ready, where it looks at 5 cards, 1 red Saiyan, and costs 4 or less. So this will help you kind of, it's just another 1-drop Goku option for early game in case you don't see the 1-drop Gokus, but you have an EX Evolve Goku. I ultimately end up not adding this card in my deck, but when I was kind of going over like what 1-drop Gokus could be good, this one did come up as well. One that I did add to my list though was Legend Personified. It is once again a 1 energy Son Goku. On play draws you a card, but then it has activate main bond 3 once per turn. If your opponent has 3 more energy, this card gets plus 21,000. So it's for 1 energy, it's a 25k battle card until the start of your next main phase. And keep in mind, power carries over. So you play this card either using the unison route or just paying one. You get the draw. If you have other battle cards in play, you activate the bond, makes it a 25k, and then you attack, and then you can turn around and then use the Son Goku Evolve Offensive to pay 1 energy to evolve on top of a Son Goku energy cost of 1. The card you'll draw a card, you restand that card, and it goes from being a 19k because power carries over when you evolve to now being a 40k. There was a promo that came out. It's promo 438. It is a counterplay Son Goku. I don't like this one as much, and it's one of the reasons I end up not adding this card. Primarily because it gained nothing from it. Yes, when this card is played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 15,000 power for the turn. There are better counterplays that you can play in this deck that practically do the same thing, and this card is 3 and only reduces its cost if your leader is a red Son Goku, Vegeta, Trunks future card, and you have a red Saiyan card with the evolve and energy cost of 3, you reduce its cost by 2 in your hand. So if you have one of the other 3 targets, cool, you can play this for 1 energy. The problem is that I'd rather play Gohan because it negs by 20. It's a blocker. It's double strike. It's 20k. Now, granted, Gohan is a unique, so if your opponent doesn't get rid of it, you can't Gohan again. But still, at the same time, like I would rather Gohan than play the Son Goku counter attacker. Going over the just additional in red cards that could be added or things I did end up doing. I did add it. You have your super combos, which I end up playing Raditz Saiyan Youth. There is a, if you want to say play a 3 of and a 1 of something else, you could get a little cheeky and play Bulma out adventuring. Because if your leader is red and you and your opponent have a total of 8 or less life, when this card is using a combo, you draw 1 card. Then, if it's your turn, choose 1 red Earthling card with energy cost of 1 in your hand and you play it. You could theoretically use this Bulma to play a Trunks if you wanted to. So then for 1 super combo, you're initially drawing 2. And then you turn around and just activate EX Evolve and Trunks and just play the 3-drop. But as if you want to get cheeky, obviously I just went the Saiyan Juiced because the Trunks, Vegeta, and Goku have ways of playing themselves for free already. So it's just something I wanted to point out. I thought was kind of fun and cute if you wanted to go that route. Obviously, we incorporated SS Broly Surging Attack Up in the deck. It's a good overall red card for 1 energy. The deck just likes playing cards for 1 energy. It's a 25k crit. That initially just draws you a card by cycling it to the bottom of your deck using the Overlord skill you give your leader. It's just a fun 25k crit. And a lot of times this card baits out in the gates. So you just get rid of them that way. Moving over to the secret rares, you have 3 different options you could go this route. The first one being the SS4 Vegeta, a light in the dark. As long as your leader's mono red Saiyan, you have 4 more mono red energy. You can play this card using Overrealm 6. It gains Quad Strike. Your leader gets a 10k boost to the end of your opponent's turn. To the start of your next turn. And you get to look at your opponent's hand, choose 1 battle card for 35,000 power or less from your opponent's hand, and discard it. It's just really good. The other 2 I looked at that you could possibly add is SSB Vegeta Unbridled Power. This one is 4 energy to play, is activate main, but when you play this card from your hand, you may have one of your opponent's leaders get minus 5,000 power for the turn. So depending on when you play this card, what kind of burst that you have, this is great to play, and then it just weakens your opponent afterwards. Then it is a dual attack if you have Sparking 25, which actually is plausible in this deck. Because you discard cards for your leader's effect. You're seeing a ton of rotations. So like you could pull this off, which is nice. But it has triple strike as well. But that's not what makes this one good. What makes this good is that if you get your opponent down to 1 life, either before this card hits the board or while this card's on the board, you activate main, you remove this card from the game, choose all of your opponent's battle cards in unison, ignoring barrier, placing another drop. Then you place 1 card from your opponent's life into their drop. So 4 energy is board wiping. It's getting a triple K, 40k to attack, possibly pulling off a dual attack as well in the process. Overall, great card. As the Z Awaken is red energy, 1 Z energy, but then you place up to 3 of your Z energy under your leader, red Son Goku Vegeta Trunks future. Auto when this card attacks. For each non-leader card onto this card gets plus 10,000 power for the battle. And then auto place all non-leader cards from under this card in notice drop. At the end of your turn, choose all of your opponent's battle cards. They get minus 10,000 power for the turn for each card placed in the drop of the skill. Mercenary is the one I didn't go with, but it was just a nice little option to get a double strike on your leader without having to pay the energy for it. And ultimately, for my build, I did go the SS4 Vegeta route because it's just free. And I get to peek at my opponent's hand and see what they get. And then from there, I could just play the rest of my turn the way I want to play it. And because we do play Z leader, we have all this effects. We do have Omega Shinron, which is just a really great leader. Just make sure you remember the permanent, because in my matchup I have on camera, I forgot. I didn't forget, I messed up and I chose it instead. But activate main for 2 red energy if your leader is red Shadow Dragon or a red Z leader and you have 3 or more energy, you play this card from your hand. It has activate battle where you choose one of your battle cards or unison. So I choose one battle card or unison to get minus 3,000 power for a turn for each of your Z energy. Additionally, if your leader is a Z leader, choose one battle card or unison gets minus 30,000 power for a turn. I did that during my opponent's turn, my game with this on camera earlier in the week or last week. And my opponent had the Frieza's Death Ball thing and negged it up by 30k because I chose Activate Battle and hit Shinron to boost him by 5k instead, because his permanence when this card's power would be reduced, it gains 5,000 power until the start of the next turn instead. If this happens, negate the skill until the start of the next turn. So, yeah. Going into the Z deck, I kind of just... There wasn't really much for me to change, so this is what I ended up just doing initially. Now, granted, this is before all the new rules drop, so there's only 7 cards in my Z deck. 2 of the Rush Attack Vegetas. We have 1 of the Defending of Life Son Goku. We do play the 10 times Kamehameha Mighty Blast because you do need a red extra card, a Z extra card in play for the Explosive Dance. And I play 1 of the Son Gohan at the ready. It's a blocker. Your Saiyan cards with energy cost 3 and Evolve gain blocker, which helps kind of get that Piccolo play off more. Now, granted, this card doesn't have Deflect, doesn't have Barrier. This card's very acceptable to being hit. So I only play as a 1-of, and it's one of those situations where if I know I can play it, I'll play it. If not, it's staying in my Z deck and not seeing the light of day. But at the end of your turn, choose up to 1 of your red Saiyan cards with Evolves and switch to active mode. So it allows you, kind of like I said, you can attack the Goku, then restand it. If you attack with the Vegeta, it's going away anyway, so I wouldn't worry about that part. Activate main with the turn. If your leader is Son Goku Vegeta Trunks feature, during your opponent's turn, when one of your red Saiyan cards with energy cost of 3 and Evolve is placed in your drop, add your Z energy instead, so it helps you kind of recycle things for other stuff. But yeah, so that's overall kind of things I looked at. I looked at more things, like I also looked at the Goten, looked at One Hit Wonder, I looked at the Gamma 1 and 2 card, I looked at a couple of the stuff for the Vegeta and Goku's from the 3 drops as well from the Gohan Trunks deck. And ultimately, these are just some of the things I was just kind of looking for 3 drops, looking for 1 drop, seeing what I can make with this deck as best as possible, or at least something I felt good doing. And like I said, it is on camera if you guys want to check it out. But like always, the trio to my list is what I'm calling the deck. It's actually in the description down below. And you can see the actual 53 card deck I ended up going with. And please let me know what you would change about it. Like I said, most likely, most people should take Spirit Bomb and Unleash out because I think that's a garbage card. But hey, I wanted to keep it in there just for flavor. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hope you all enjoy. And stay tuned for the next, more or less, profile that I'll be doing these breakdowns on. Kind of breakdowns. I don't want to say breakdown entirely, but it feels like I'm doing a breakdown. Maybe. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I think the next list is going to be Bardock, Inherit Will. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Bye.